Yeah, hi, welcome. In this video, I'll show you how to use AWS DevOps services like AWS CodeCommit, AWS CodeBuild, and AWS CodePipeline with a very simple Java web application project. I have designed this particular demo to have 5 phases. In phase 1, I'll be creating some preparatory task. I'll be just setting up everything fine. I'll be creating a S3 bucket for the build artifact. Then I will check if I have an existing IAM user, or I will create a new IAM user with set of privileges that allows him or her to use AWS DevOps services. Then we'll generate the Git and HTTP credentials. Here I'm going to just assign this user a power user permissions on AWS DevOps services. Generate the Git HTTP credentials for the same user. This is just a kind of prerequisite setup. Then in phase 2, I will log in into my AWS console using an IAM user. Right now I have logged in with my root user. This is my root username, Mahendra Shinde. Then I'll create code commit repository. Then I will clone it to my local machine on my local system in my current file system, local file system. After I have copied entire entire project, I will then create one extension, EB extension directly with fixed path module that will help me later with elastic BeanStalk deployment. Commit all the changes, register the remote repository, code commit repository, and push all changes to code commit from the local machine. Then in phase 3, I'm going to create CodeBuild project. Then I'll define a BuildSpec file, or I will create a new BuildSpec for the Mavenized project. I will also make sure that my project, after it is built, it will publish all the build artifacts to S3 bucket that I have created in phase 1. And then finally, phase 4, I will create a Tomcat-based web app using AWS Elastic BeanStalk and test with the default sample app. Phase 5, the final one, here is I'm going to create AWS CodePipeline for deploying the application to this particular Elastic BeanStalk. So let's get started now. We are in phase 1. So let's do one thing quickly. I'll just create one S3 bucket. So if you have already logged in into AWS console, you can just head over to S3 services, S3 console, and from S3 console, let's create a new S3 bucket. I don't have any bucket created right now, so let's create a new bucket. So I want my bucket to be called, let's say, DevOps bucket. This is the region which I have selected here, East US. That's fine. And I'm just going to use ACL disabled for the time being right now. Block all public access. You can enable the bucket versioning that will allow you to have multiple build artifact, like build artifact version 1, version 2, version 3 in the same bucket. It will also work fine without enabling bucket versioning. Your code build will work just fine. I don't want any server-side encryption, the option. I will keep it disabled for a time being and create the bucket. Just wait. Bucket is getting created now. What I will do next, I will either create a new IAM user or I will use an existing IAM user. Let's see. I'll do one thing. I'll create a new IAM user here. So let's search for IAM. AWS IAM is AWS Identity and Access Management Control. So let's go to IAM console. And from my IAM console, I'm just going to create a new user. So let's go to users and let's create a new user here. Just give me a minute. User is getting created now. Let's call this new user Divya. And I want this user to have access keys for programmatic access and also password for AWS console. Access keys we are actually not going to use anywhere. You need access keys only when you are planning to use AWS CLI or any other kind of development tool. Right now we just need a password, but I have selected both of them anyways. Instead of using auto-generated passwords, I'm going to use my own custom password here. So I've entered my password and user must create a new password. I don't want that. I want to continue using this password only. Let's go to the next screen. I'm going to add some permissions to this user. I will add this user to the admins group that I have created earlier. Okay, and then permission boundaries, create user without a boundary. That's fine. There is one more thing, by the way. This particular user is actually going to need AWS code commit pipeline access. So let's go to attach existing policies directly. Wait a second. If I do that, these changes will be discarded. Okay, that's fine. Let's change that. Yeah. And from here, let me choose power user. Let's see how many different policies are there with term power user in them. There are so many of them. But right now what I need is AWS code commit power user. Can you see that? AWS code commit power user. We need this. Next, I don't need any tags. Let's hit the review button. This is the user I'm creating now and create. So new user is getting created. Username is Divya and the user has access keys, secret, everything placed inside it. And you will notice one thing, this new user can sign in using this URL. So let me copy this URL now. And I'll do one thing, I'll open a new browser window with incognito mode so that, I will have a different login there on AWS console. So my AWS username here is Divya and this is Divya's password. If you enter correct username, password and account number, you will get access to the AWS management console anyways. Now this is my AWS management console. Rest everything I'm going to do using this particular console now, not using this one where I have logged in with my root username. So we have done with step number 1 and step number 2 of phase 1. Let's proceed with step number 3 where I'm going to generate Git HTTP credentials for the new user. So this time I'm going to use this one. This is console now. So what I will do now, in this console, let's go to IAM User once again. Wait a second, I can do that from the admin console also. That's proper, that's completely okay actually. What I will do is, okay, user is already created. Let's go to the username. And for this user, let's create HTTP get credentials. So Divya user called Divya. And for this user called Divya, I'm going to create security credentials. From security credentials, I will go and create HTTP get credentials for AWS code. Here it actually uses a secret token. Let's generate the token and these are the details. The username is this and the password is this. Better download the credentials immediately. This will make sure that you can access them easily whenever you need. You won't be able to see this token later on. So better you download them. So there is a file downloaded over here. I can open this file in Excel or Notepad. It's a comma separated verb basically. Fine, looks like my Microsoft Excel has picked it up. And both the user ID and the access token will be visible here. We need this when we log in. Am I clear? Fine, let's just minimize this. So I have done with phase 1 completely. I did entire phase 1 with my root admin account. Now in phase 2, let's use IAM User. I have already logged in here in IAM User. Let me check. Here is my IAM User, AWS Management Console with new IAM User. Okay. Here you can see the login name is Divya. Let's create a new code commit repository. For that, you will have to search for code commit from the main panel. Here it is. Let's go to AWS code commit, and from AWS code commit, what I will do now, here is the AWS code commit. Let's create a new repository here. I'm going to call this repository as Java demo, a sample Java project. Description, you can add whatever you want. You can add tags. You can even have an optional feature of creating Amazon Code Guru Reviewer. This is an optional feature. I don't want it right now. And create. This is my new Git repository on AWS code commit. Now, it will give me these steps. What you need basically. You need to have Git installed in your machine, and somewhere in your local machine, you have to clone this repository. So let me copy this and let me go to my terminal here. Okay, this is my PowerShell terminal. And from this terminal, let's go to our repos folder, or let's create a new folder anyways. Let's create a new folder in AWS demos, and let's get inside AWS demos folder. And this is completely new folder basically. There is nothing inside it. You will see it's empty. What I will do now, let's use that git clone command here in my terminal. When I press enter, it will start cloning the repository in my local machine. Please remember one thing. What I was actually expecting here is when you do the clone, it should actually open a pop-up box asking me to authenticate, right? To authenticate with my GitHub access token, sorry, not GitHub, AWS code commit access username and password. You will notice one thing, it didn't actually ask me for any credentials. Let me tell you the reason for that. I have been using AWS code commit for some time, and there were already some pre-created credentials already available there. So it didn't ask me for the credentials again. But what I was actually expecting here, if you are doing it for the first time, it will open a browser pop-up and it will ask you to enter your username and password, where you will have to use this credential. This set of credentials you will have to use. Okay, fine. That's fine. Let's do one thing. Let's open whatever project you have cloned here. Let's open that project in VS Code text editor. So that's our VS Code, the smart text editor that we will be using throughout this project. This is the smart text editor. So you will notice this is completely empty, nothing is inside it. I have a sample code that I can copy from somewhere. Now the sample code I'm talking about is in my D drive in a Git repository called CI sublet demo. Oh, I'm already inside the repository here. Yeah. So once I am in CI sublet demo, this is the project. What I will do now, I'll just copy everything from this project directory and put it into my C drive AWS demos Java app demo folder. So let's copy everything there. And you will notice one thing, if I switch to my VS Code environment now, this is my VS Code environment. All the files are there. Fine. So what I did just now, I created a local repository, create a local Git repository, copy existing Maven project. Let's now add one extension. I'm going to create a new folder with name EB extensions, and inside .eb extensions, I will create a file called fixpath.config. Now this is the file. This is actually a YAML file, which requires me to create a small, you can say, configuration. Now this configuration is not for the build pipeline. This configuration is actually for Elastic BeanStalk, so that when this project will be deployed, it will use this small command. It is actually done deliberately so that as soon as root.var is copied to my elastic BeanStalk, it will automatically extract its contents at the right place. So this is done. Okay. Now my code repository is ready. What is the next thing to do? Commit all the changes. You can take help of your VS Code environment itself. What I can do here, I can just, commit all the changes here with a commit message. Let's commit all the changes here. Say yes, commit. You can use command line tool, get add command, get commit command, etc. and then push the changes to the remote repository. Let's wait for the push operation to complete now. Is it done? Yes. Let's do one thing now. If I just go back to this particular AWS code commit repository now, let's try to reload the repository page. And this time you will notice that all that help information it was showing me earlier on how to clone the repository to local, all that has disappeared because this is no longer an empty repository. This repository now contains some files. And these are all the files. So I have done this part. I have done this part. Push the changes now. So I have successfully completed phase 1 and phase 2. Let's move to phase 3 now. In phase 3, I'm going to create a new CodeBuild project. So here we'll go in AWS console, build, and let's create a new build project. It's not authorized because, I got it. Looks like I have given this particular user only permissions to code commit, not to the code build. Fine, I'll fix that. Let's go back to the environment here and I'll do one thing. I will give this user one more privilege. Let's go to user Divya. This is the user. Okay. Wait a second. Okay. I have given this user AWS code commit power user permissions. Let's give further permissions here. Wait a second, I guess I should just add it to the admin group first of all, instead of this. Admin group. Admin group, this user will get access to most of the services and permissions. Fine. Let's see if this will fix this. Let's go to CodeBuild, build project. Yeah, I'm now getting an access. So let's do one thing now. I'll just go and create the project here. A new CodeBuild project. Let's give it a name. The CodeBuild project name I'm going to create here is, let's say, Java build. Description I will write a sample Maven application. Fine. Here I'm going to say the source code for my particular project is from AWS code commit and repository is going to be Java demo repository. For Java demo repository, I'm just going to pick up the main master branch. I have a master branch in there. Latest commit for the master branch will be picked up automatically. For the build agent, I want Ubuntu server with standard runtime image, standard version 5.0. and it's going to be a Linux machine. A new role has to be created to assign the right permissions, privileges, and I want to create a new BuildSpec file. So let's use insert build command and then switch to an editor so that we will get a detailed editor screen where I can make small changes to my project. So this is the set of build commands. In the install phase, let's do one small installation activity here. What I will do is, for this particular project, I need Java to be installed. So which version of Java you need? I need Java version 8, Core to Java 8. Fine. And there is nothing in pre-build. In build, I need a command. So a typical Maven command, mvn package, will build my project. But unfortunately for us, Maven package command will create a target folder and it will create the final build artifact. The .var file will be created inside a target folder. I will add one extra step to make sure that root.var created inside target directory will be copied instead to the parent directory. Now, there is no report, but there are artifacts. So what about artifact? I want to get two artifacts here. I want to collect two artifacts. First one is the root.var file itself, and the second one is going to be the EB extension, Elastic BeanStalk extension that I have created. So the name is EB extensions, and then whatever files might be there. Double star slash then single star. That means everything inside EB extensions folder should be picked up, all the files. That's it. My BuildSpec file is now ready. This is the BuildSpec file that I'm currently editing here, currently using in here. Once you have done all the necessary changes here, we will then define the artifacts here. I want my artifacts to be kept in S3 bucket. You will notice a bucket has already been created by me, DevOps bucket. This is the one I created in phase 1, right? This bucket we are referring to. So this bucket I will choose. You can provide the name or you can use semantic versioning. In case if you are planning to use semantic versioning, so that artifact will get some unique name, I would recommend you do one thing. Go back to the artifact phase here, build spec command, and remove this comment or uncomment this line. I want name of the artifact to be this. So artifact name, the folder that it will create under S3 will actually automatically create a name like this: year, month, and day. Okay, fine. Now that everything is set here, what I will do now, it's none. I don't need any kind of compression. CloudWatch, I want all the build logs to be available to me. And finally, create the build project. You can even test run this build project. Okay, just to check whether it is able to build your project here successfully. Okay, let's see how much time it will take for building this project. Okay, fine. I did not click the build command, build button. So build project is created. Let's start the build. Build is started. You can see it is in progress here. And if you want, you can just look at the build logs. Use this button, tail logs, to get the live logs of your build operation. It will take approximately 4 to 5 minutes only for this entire project to get built. Okay, not more than that. It's a very small demo project that I have created some 4 to 5 years back. Best thing is my project is not having too many third-party dependencies, just basic Java Servlet API. Okay, so the entire Maven build operation should not take more than let's say 2 or 3 minutes max. Oh, looks like my build is completed already. You can see the current phase is showing completed. Okay, that's great. Let's close this pop-up and return to the build. And I can see here my build was already succeeded. My build is successful already. And guess what? If you look at the log here, it is saying it successfully built the project. Fine, what next then? Let's go back to the Java build, the build project name, and let's see if it has created the artifacts. So you will see the build artifacts are available at this location, DevOps bucket, the one that I created in phase 1. Right now, we are in this phase. We have done the build and we are just checking whether our artifacts are available in this S3 bucket. Let's see that. Yes, you will see here I'm using semantic versioning, and I have used for the folder name I'm using this date. So this is today's date, and you will see under today's date a root.var file has been captured. Okay, the root.var file has been captured and I can see it here. I guess there is some problem though. I'm not able to see that file. Wait a second, something is wrong in here. I was expecting two files here, one EB extensions and the two root.var, but I can see here only root.var, not the EB extension. Let me check that once. What I will do is, let's go back to the CodeBuild project and let's edit the steps once again. I just want to see what all things I have mentioned there in the BuildSpec file. In the BuildSpec file, this was the build command, and then this was the files that I need to collect. I wanted to collect EB extensions. Oh, I made a spelling mistake here. EB, EXTENSIONS, extensions. Okay, this has to be very perfect basically because EB, EXTENSION, extensions. Otherwise, application will not actually, deploy properly in Elastic BeanStalk. Let's update the build spec. There's no need to run the build again because anyway, when I will create CodePipeline, that time it will run anyways. Now let's go to phase 4. I need an application to deploy this project, right? So what I'll do now, let's search for BeanStalk. AWS Elastic BeanStalk. And let's create a new project for Java, Tomcat based Java web application project. Here we are now. What I will do now here, let's create a new environment, or let's say we are creating a new application. I'm going to create a new application. Let's call this application as HR app, a sample application for HR team. Create. Now for this particular HR app, let's create new environment, a web server environment. Here for HR app, the environment name will be HR app env. Domain hr.mahindra.eastus1. Wait, I can't use dot in here. Let's see if this name is available. Yeah, this name is available. That's fine. And let's give it a name. A sample web application. I want to use a managed platform for the application where it will be using a Tomcat based Java web application. Version of Tomcat I can use is Tomcat 8.5 with Coreto 8 or Coreto 11. My project is built with Coreto 8, but believe me, the CI sublet demo, the one that I'm using right now, is also compatible with Java 11, that is Coreto 11. Fine, let's keep it as close to the source code. Sample application. Anyway, I'm going to change this through the pipeline. For a time being now, let's say sample application. Either way, it is also possible to choose your S3 bucket right now. You can do that. I will not do that right now. Sample application. Let's wait for the environment creation. It might take approximately 2 to 3 minutes for environment to be ready. So we'll wait. Okay, so I have created this project. Now I'm going to test the sample application once it is ready. Let's wait for it. So looks like it has created the required EC2 instances behind the scene. I guess I made a mistake here. I should have went to the advanced setting and selected a single instance application. This looks like it is creating a multi-instance application complete with elastic load balancer and all. That's fine. Project will work just fine. No worries. Okay. But only thing is it will take 1 or 2 extra minutes to provision this environment now. So behind the scene, it is going to use security group, then elastic load balancer. I guess if I'm not wrong, it has to create auto scaling group as well. It is now setting up the health groups. Fine. Okay, it's taking some time. Okay. So looks like it has created the auto scaling group policy, CloudWatch alarm. Okay, fine. So it's nearly done now. Might take just a couple of seconds more uh, for the application to get ready. Okay. Looks like it has created a load balancer also. Yeah, load balancing rule has been created now because I did not choose single instance option. This is going to increase the cost. Okay, looks like instance deployment has completed successfully, but it will take few seconds for me to, go to the final success page here. Okay, adding an instance. Yeah. So environment is successfully launched now, and the entire process took only 2 minutes basically. Fine. So now that environment is ready, I should be able to, kind of test the environment. So environment is loading now. Okay, that's great. Let us test run this project. This is the actual URL. Let's visit the actual URL and see if the project is working just fine. Yes, this is the default AWS default page. Now we are going to replace this with my actual application, real application. And for that, now we are going to start with phase 5, which is our last phase where we will create AWS CodePipeline. So let's go back to the AWS console here and we will go back to AWS CodePipeline. So let's search for pipeline in an AWS console, and from the pipeline, let's create a new AWS CodePipeline for the deployment. So here, let's give it a name. Let's call it HR app deploy. A new role will be created and added to my current user. Next, source provider. My entire source code is from AWS code commit repository. So let's select the code repository name and let's choose the branch name, which is master branch. I will trigger this pipeline with AWS CodePipeline trigger that will periodically check if there are any changes detected in your code commit repository, and if there are any changes, it will run this pipeline. CodePipeline default artifact format. Next, build provider, I will use AWS CodeBuild, and this is the AWS CodeBuild project Java build, and this is going to be a single build. Next, now the last step is where you provide the deployment credentials or deployment. Here we are going to deploy it to AWS Elastic BeanStalk. Let's select the application that I have created. I have created an application called HR app, and for HR app, the environment name is HR app env, the one that I have created recently. That's it. So now this is my code pipeline. For my code pipeline, the first portion, the first setting or first section is source code. Source code, I have provided AWS code commit repository. Second, I have provided build, AWS code build project. And third, I have provided deploy action to AWS Elastic BeanStalk. Let's hit the create pipeline button and see the pipeline now. I'm looking at the pipeline creation screen. Let's wait for it to show me the pipeline. Yeah, pipeline creation is successful. Here is the pipeline, and looks like immediately the pipeline has also started its execution. It's getting the source code from the source code repository. You can see it here. It says in progress. And once it is succeeded, it will then transition to the build step where it is using this build. You can click on the detail button to check the detail build log. Build is going on. These are the phase details. Right now it has submitted the request, added it to the build queue, provisioning the required servers, build servers, and then it will proceed with the next step. Yeah, done. Wow. Done the necessary installation for Java Core 808. Pre-build. I did not actually add anything to pre-build. The main step here is build. Okay, build done. Good. Now let's just go back to the code pipeline. So in code pipeline, you will see the first and second step is complete. Okay, second step is not complete practically. It's still going on. And once this one is over, it will then transition to the deploy. Let's wait for it. Yeah, it's done now. The build part is done and now it has triggered the deployment. This is the deployment. If you want to see the details of the deployment process, you can just click on the pipeline execution ID. This is where you will see the deployment logs. So deployment is going on right now. And if you look at the timeline here, you have done with the source, build, and now you are in a deploy state. Okay. This is the visualization graph. And wait a second, I was waiting for, I was looking for the actual logs. Artifacts have built already. Deployment is still going on. Okay. Just wait few couple of seconds for the deployment, and once deployment is done, we will go and check this out. Instead of this default welcome page, we will get, yeah, it's done already. My deployment is completely done. And this is my sample project. Okay. This is the sample project that I have built. And I'm able to access this application from my Elastic Bean-Stalk. This is how you use AWS DevOps services. Okay. And with this, we end the entire demo. Now, one last final piece that I would like to add here, the cleanup activity. How will you do a cleanup? How will I delete all these things? Because this is going to actually result in some charges for using all those services. So I will go step by step. Number one, let's remove all the DevOps services, including pipeline. So I will delete the pipeline first. I don't know what happened to this. Okay, we'll delete it from here instead. Pipelines. And I will just delete the pipeline. I'll delete S3 bucket. I will delete code commit repository. Okay. So this is how you delete them. Deleting pipeline is easy. Just select the pipeline and hit delete button. Let's go back to developer tools and let's delete the build project. So here is the build project. Select it and delete it. Just have to type delete in the text box and press delete. Let's go to the source code repository and let's delete the source code repository as well. Delete the source code repository. Then let's go to the S3 bucket and let's delete the S3 bucket that I have created for this particular project. Just give me a second. Yeah, S3 bucket is getting loaded. There is a possibility that this S3 bucket will not actually allow you to delete anything. This S3 bucket I was talking about. So first empty the bucket. So empty bucket means you will have to, or you are just trying to permanently delete all the contents of the bucket and make the bucket empty, and then try to delete the bucket. In case if you get permission error, I will show you how to, kind of delete it. DevOps bucket. Sorry, I just have to type the bucket name again. Buckets. Yeah, it's deleted successfully. That's great. There are two other buckets which are created by this pipeline. One is CodePipeline bucket and the other one is Elastic Bean-Stalk bucket. So let's empty the CodePipeline bucket. So permanently delete all the contents of this bucket and then delete this bucket also. Now I'm too lazy to type the bucket name, so I will copy and paste it instead. And this elastic BeanStalk. For elastic BeanStalk, let's empty it first. Permanently delete, empty it, and now delete it. And once this is deleted, the last thing to delete is the app and app environment. That I'll delete. Looks like I don't have permissions to delete this particular bucket. I was expecting this error in at least one bucket anyways. I'll show you how to do that, how to make it possible to delete this bucket. Go to the permissions tab and click on the edit bucket policy. And in edit bucket policy, there is a policy created that will deny the delete access. So let's delete this section of the policy. Make sure that you are deleting the comma at line number 29 as well. Okay, so that this entire section I'm deleting from here. And then save the changes to the policy. Now, policy will not restrict or policy will not stop me from deleting this particular bucket. Let's delete this bucket. Name of the bucket, I'll just copy and paste it here and delete. Sorry. Okay, so after all the buckets deleted, let's go and delete the BeanStalk. Elastic BeanStalk. And let's delete that as well. We will have to delete the app and environment both. So this is the HR app I was looking at, and let's terminate the environment. Name of environment is this. Let me copy and paste the environment name and terminate. Okay. Environment is getting terminated now. There was some other environment I had created earlier. I'll delete that as well. Keeping the environment in your AWS console will actually result in cost, okay, in the charges. I want to avoid, or I want to, kind of keep the charges to, that's why I'm deleting all my apps and environments. Okay. Let's see if the environment is now already deleted. Okay, environment is getting terminated now. Fine, that's great. That is what I was expecting. So that's for it. I have deleted everything now in this final phase. Thank you very much.